Hello and welcome back to the Grand Ego. My name is Jaret Grismer and boy do we have a lot to talk about tonight. So let's get started.
This is a Decision 2016 update.
Iowa caucuses.
Super Tuesday exit polls.
Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, and
Marco Rubio, Donald Trump.
The 2016 campaign.
Yes, folks, it's time for the 2016 presidential race. A fact that anybody with a television, internet connection, or window to the outside world could have told you. Yet it wasn't until earlier this month that we began process for actually selecting candidates. On February 1st, prospective voters collected for the Iowa caucus, the first official event of the primary season. But unlike the upcoming state government-run primaries, the Iowa caucus is run by the individual parties, and it is a process that is known for getting complicated.
So what is a caucus? In common use, it's defined simply as a gathering of neighbors. But in reality, there's a bit more to it. The process differs between Democrats and Republicans, but their goal is the same: to choose delegates from each of Iowa's 1,700 or so voting precincts who will go on to represent their candidate at the county, district, and state conventions, and ultimately at the Democratic and Republican national conventions, where presidential candidates are officially nominated.
Alright, that seems like that should be pretty easy to accomplish. And for the Republican Party, it totally is. Citizens come in, take part in a discussion where they can voice their support for a particular candidate, and then everybody casts a secret ballot with their vote. It's easy. You're in at 7 and out by 10 to do whatever Republicans do at night. And yet, the Democratic Party handles things a little differently.
The room is first divided into sections, one for each represented candidate, and one for undecided voters, if necessary. Participants physically arrange themselves into groups based on their preference. Supporters of each candidate then try to persuade their neighbors to switch groups for roughly 30 minutes, and then each group is counted. If a group is too small to be considered viable, a threshold which is determined ahead of time using math, the group is dissolved and the remaining groups compete to absorb its members. Non-viable groups could also combine to form a viable group, or absorb members from a viable group in the hope of becoming viable themselves. Once everyone's done moving around, the groups are counted again and the number of delegates assigned to each precinct is divided between the groups using math again. Finally, the number of delegates won by each candidate is reported to the state party, which calculates delegate counts for the state convention and relays those numbers to the media.
What the hell is this? We're discussing who should be nominated for president, not having an argument with your roommate about which furniture is and is not okay to disappoint your girlfriend on. The reason this is such an issue is because the Democratic race is extremely close. About a dozen precincts had an equal number of supporters for Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton by the end of the night, with an odd number of delegates to split between the two. And you will never guess how they settle who gets the extra person.
Our official delegate for this precinct is Hillary Clinton.
News sources are eating this fact up because inevitably it led to several voters calling the process unfair. Now, don't get me wrong, flipping a coin to figure all this out is cuckoo bananas. But in a process where the Hillary supporters and Bernie supporters officially draw a line across the room and hunt for undecided voters and Martin O'Malley casualties like they are the last source of water on the planet, I'll believe anything. The night of the caucus, the story broke that there were 6 coin tosses, and all of them came up in the favor of Hillary Clinton. Now, this is true. But what sources didn't know at the time was that there were about 6 other tiebreakers in Bernie's favor that went unreported until the official numbers were in the following day. The point is, these rules add extra steps to the process. They open up a lot of room for error, leaving you with frantic, confusing situations. There were even accusations of voter fraud. So the process definitely needs to be simplified, but at the same time, it is not important to focus on slip-ups that are bound to happen with 1,700 precincts running a complex system. But do you want to know the most fascinating thing about the caucus? At this point, it's basically irrelevant. Seriously, in the time between this show being written and us shooting it, they have already held the New Hampshire primary. And in the time between us shooting this episode and it actually being released, 14 more states will have participated in primaries and caucuses. And this just isn't due to the fact that our editor is a
great guy
who takes 2 weeks to finish an episode. Over 1,900 delegates will be awarded to the potential candidates in both parties over the next 2 weeks. And you can bet that issues like these coin flips, communication errors, and accusations of fraud are going to be flooding in. It is important to know what is and is not relevant to the actual race because a lot of time will be spent on both sides speculating things that are inconsequential. What is consequential, you may ask? Your vote. The Michigan primaries will take place on March 8th. This is important to know because that will be during Grand Valley spring break. If you are leaving the state or won't be in the town you are currently registered in, you can obtain an absentee ballot as late as Saturday, March 6th. Please visit this link for more information. Voting in this election is important. All voting is important. It is incredibly likely that our next president is going to be one of these 5 people. No matter which side you are on, voting is the best way to make sure that your feelings and thoughts make a difference. Especially because we're not exactly out of the clear with this whole coin toss scenario, and one extra person on either side would have clinched it. It would be a shame to be that one swing vote. I urge you to vote, or shut the hell up about it already. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Tonight we're going to dive into a mystery that has surrounded students at Grand Valley for a while. Now you may have seen the website workforstudents.com written across whiteboards in classrooms or flyers with large smiley faces on them posted around campus. You may have thought it was from a McDonald's recruiter, but upon closer inspection it is from a cultist company called Vector. Tonight we're going to dive into this enigma in a new segment called Unlocking the Ego. Our subject for tonight is the Work for Students website operated by Vector. Each year, thousands of college students are misled into applying for a job through this website. They are drawn in by friendly faces, high-paying wages, and flexible hours, citing an hourly pay of $16 an hour. Sounds good, right? Let's say that the devil is in the details. Have you heard of Satan, Prince of Darkness, ruler of hell? Vector isn't so different. Vector Marketing is a single-level direct sales group that builds its workforce through advertising via newspapers, direct marketing, word of mouth, posted advertisements, letters, and various media on the internet, aka a pyramid scheme. But what is the product that Vector is scamming? Knives. Regular old kitchen knives. These knives are made and provided by a company called Cutco Cutlery. Vector Marketing Corporation and Cutco Cutlery Corporation are wholly owned subsidiaries of Cutco Corporation. Imagine this relationship like buying an iPhone on the street. You think you're getting a great deal on a smartphone, but later that day you drop it, it opens up, and inside is a small bag of cocaine. You think you're getting Apple's latest phone, but instead you're getting Coke. And it's not even good Coke. This is mediocre drugs. It's not like that line you got from a random hippie at a Led Zeppelin concert. This is low shit. But I digress. So how does Vector deliver its product to junkies? They're happy salesmen that are being paid $16 an hour. First of all, these salesmen aren't being paid $16 an hour. They are being paid $16 an appointment, which usually lasts an hour. Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. These appointments that get these people paid need to be set up by the salesmen themselves. Starting salesmen will usually target their family and friends, giving them a way to get their names out there. Now, these salesmen are some of the most deceptive people on the market. Now, no one was born a salesman, so of course Vector had to train these people to sell the Cutco line. Once hired, salesmen are taught the deceptive tactics to sell the knives. The problem is that Vector isn't paying their employees to learn these tactics. The Fair Labor Standards Act requires employers to pay workers a minimum wage as well as overtime for any hours worked in excess of 40 in a week. The FLSA generally requires all employers to pay workers for time spent in mandatory training programs, such as Vector's initial training seminars. On January 14, 2015, a group of 10 sales representatives filed a collective action lawsuit against Vector Marketing Corporation, the maker of Cutco knives, alleging that the company violated wage and hour laws by failing to pay its salespeople for the time they spent in mandatory training programs in the California federal court. This is an open case that any employee can latch onto. Even the employees of Vector are sick of Vector. For those salesmen that were satisfied with Vector's training tactics, employees can now set up appointments and can begin to sell Cutco knives door to door. The problem with it is, since they're sold door to door by appointment, Cutco's knives are often compared to customers' existing kitchen knives. And since many home cooks have dinged these up and have done limited maintenance on them over time, Cutco comes off pretty darn good by comparison. The sales techniques sometimes employed by Cutco reps is to bring along a set of latest generation knives. These knives are hardly state-of-the-art, so once again, Cutco comes off looking pretty good. After getting their hand on a Cutco, many home chefs will become confident themselves, adapting on the virtue of using a very sharp knife in the kitchen. And a few $100 later, they're the proud owner of a new set of Cutco knives. In that context, did they get an upgrade from their existing knives? Maybe so. But had they done the research or compared the Cutcos side by side to an equivalently priced set of high-end knives, they might have been surprised to discover that their knives are not regarded highly by most experts. Vector has even gone to great lengths as to create fake websites that appear to be sites dedicated to hating on Vector. When you actually go into depth on the website, it is just a sandwich made of facts about Vector that actually put them in a good light. They even link you to Vector's various social media pages. Also, Vector Marketing has been posting in the comment section of this page, as well as other pages online with fake testimonials. Basically, if someone seems to be too happy to be working at Vector, it is fake. Just go to any review site and you find hundreds of testimonials from people who have brought Cutco knives or have worked for Vector hating on the tactics and products. This doesn't even apply to the general internet. As a college student, I have access to a wide amount of sources through my library, good old Mary P. So I decided to use said resource to get some more scholarly opinions on Vector and Cutco. And you know what I found? Ads. Ads everywhere. How are people supposed to make logical opinions on a company when all that information is being controlled and censored by the company that it is about? So that knife that this salesman just sold you, it's about to be stabbed in your back. But don't worry, they won't charge you extra for that. We'll be right back. Well, Grand Valley, that's all we have for you for now. I hope all of you have a safe and wonderful spring break, and if you see me on the beach, leave me alone because I probably don't know who I am or where I am at that actual time. So for all of us at the Grand Ego, have a good night and stay grand.